Sorry, it's like T-ball.
Get home
The kids are better than
You know, that last batter always gets out.
you. I didn't get it.
Meeting to order. All rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Alderman Lewis. Here. Alderman Wilson. Here. Alderman Gold.
Here.
Alderman Bell.
Here.
Alderman Bocart.
Here.
Alderman Plank. Here. Can I get a motion of approval of June 6, 2023 meeting minutes, please?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can we get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to special items. Caitlin Cunningham, request for alcohol in the park.
I was telling Leslie that she could have given me a bit of a heads up. Last week's meeting that I attended was not quite as late as fish. So, hi guys. So last week I met with Leslie and the park board and had a quick conversation with them about Pride Fest, which is going to be July 16th this year. We're doing it in the city park for a couple of different reasons. The initial reason being that we were expecting the water main project to be happening. And so obviously that would not be very conducive for traffic during that time period. And so the park was suggested, reached out to Leslie, got those kind of things taken care of. And then the last thing kind of on our list of stuff to do and talk to you guys about is, I guess, an alcohol permit, which there seemed to be some confusion with the park board about, like, if there's a form I needed to fill out, if there's not a form I needed to fill out, all of those things. But I'm here to answer any questions and to take care of any formal paperwork or protocol that needs to happen.
I think the question from Park Board was whether or not you were looking for a buffet license or like to do sales or just consumption.
No, it would, well, I think I'm not sure it was put quite in the succinct words, so I really appreciate that. I think last week we weren't really quite sure what we were trying to get down to. Whatever is possible. I mean, ideally, it would be to have a beer garden-esque type thing. We have had interest from vendors in Columbia, specifically Dogmaster, who would love to come and be a presence in the community. And so I know that I've attended Pride events and also festivals, fall festivals and things of that nature where there was a beer garden. Obviously, everyone's being ID'd, everyone has their liquor license, handling permit, all of those things. And then all of that is cordoned off. The event itself is only until 2 o'clock, so the thoughts would be to only really have beer or mixed drinks to be, and it doesn't even have to be that. Truly, it is whatever options are possible, with the ideal being having a beer garden, being able to sell cans and or spirits, and then doing that just maybe for 3 hours, like 11 to 2 o'clock.
So then the request would really just be, well, you'd be two parts, permission from the board to allow alcohol in the park, and then whatever vendor would have to have the city liquor license and whatnot for the purpose of the sales.
And you're specifically looking for a temporary permit.
1 day, 3 hours, yeah.
And our ordinances lay out the process for applying for all that. I imagine Dogmaster is quite accustomed to that.
I'm sure.
Any questions from staff?
In the past, when we've allowed, for instance, at Fall Festival, when we have the beer gardens, do we require the providers to any type of security, anything like that?
We
I can't
haven't.
remember. Have we in the past? Have we-
No,
or have
no,
we-
and there hasn't really been any problem. It was just, for those evening events, I mean, the police came through a couple of times just to see what was going on and listen to the band, but that wasn't, I mean, there wasn't any call
Not
for any,
any for
you know,
it.
no, yeah.
And we will have, I'm working with Boone Hospital on having emergency responders at the actual event itself, so that would be, that at least the health and wellness of folks would be being considered and protected.
Both as a matter of curiosity, but also because the ordinance contemplates the size. How many folks do you anticipate attending?
So that's a really great question. It is a real, and in full transparency, it is difficult for me to estimate. Last year, we had, I would say, a couple hundred come through, and it was just in the cafe and in the tattoo studio area. This year, I created the event page yesterday after finalizing some vendor information. And the last time I checked, there were already like 130 something people interested. I would say it's gonna be, I mean, it will be weather dependent and it'll be all of that, but like there will be a few hundred people.
So the ordinance, and this isn't a problem, but
Yeah.
know that if you anticipate more than 200, you're required to do a safety plan.
Okay.
Which is very much sounds like something you all will have no difficulty with. But if you're expecting that kind of a crowd, that's good to know.
Yeah. Sweet. Is that all accessible on the
It
city
is.
page?
It is.
Okay, perfect.
So looking at chapter 26, specifically 26.090.
Sweet, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
And at the park board meeting, they talked about various things like, the need for maybe more trash cans. Talked to Curtis that was at the meeting about possibly bringing the dumpster over for that day like we do at Fall Festival, so that there's extra, capacity to take care of that, so that's all.
And we will have volunteers as well. I have a volunteer coordinator assigned now, and they're starting to work on getting a core of people together, so we'll have people specifically focusing on trash collection and making sure that, the park is well taken care of, because it is a beautiful space for us to be able to do this in, so I wanna make sure that we get to do it again.
Any other questions?
My final question would be, Doris, are you planning on being in the Dunkin' booth again this year?
Could be.
Good to know. All right, so then, just so I'm sure that I know what I'm doing, I have the permission from y'all, and I'm just gonna go ahead and get those permits and stuff that Todd was discussing.
They would have to take a motion.
Oh, so sorry, just wanted to.
So we'd be looking for a motion to authorize alcohol in the park.
So moved.
Have a second?
Actually, can we do it like, cause for the, base or softball or whatever, we did like an hour before to an hour after, something.
I mean, it's whatever stipulations you'd like to place on.
Okay, what's the time of the event again?
The event itself is 9 to 2.
9 to 2. So let's just do 9 to 2, I think. Can't really show up early, right? Yeah, okay. June 16th, 9 to 2.
Sunday.
July 6th.
July 16th. Alright.
Can I have a motion to approve alcohol in the park from 9 to 2 on July 16, 2023?
And this is gonna be annoying, but, are we approving alcohol or are we waiving the ordinance banning alcohol?
You would be waiving the prohibition on alcohol so that they can proceed. They will then need to make application for a temporary liquor permit.
Okay. So moved.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Alderman Lewis?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Old?
Aye.
Alderman Bell?
Aye.
Alderman Bocart?
Aye.
Alderman Flynn?
Nay.
Thank you, ma'am. Motion carries.
Okay, then I will get those forms. Who would I need to address this to?
Darla.
Darla, I will be in contact. Okay, thank you so very much, y'all. Have a great evening.
Cheers.
Appointments to boards and commissions, I see none. Moving on, scheduled public comments. Representative Sheree Rice.
I brought props. I'm also bearing 3 gifts of 2 American flags and 2 Missouri flags. It's an honor to meet with the Ashland Board of Aldermen tonight. I am your new state representative, Sheree Tolson Reich. I reside in Hallsville. With the 2020 redistricting, District 44 has changed. I currently now represent the Centralia and Hallsville area and all of southern Boone County south of 163, including Pierpont. What I want to just make a few comments tonight. I'm in my 7th year as state rep, and every year in June, we're in session in Jeff City, January through May. I like to visit each city council and each school board and present to them kind of a end of session report, and just to show my face and let you know I'm here if you have any questions or need anything. I have a couple of things. I know several people on the board. I'm going to start with your awesome city clerk, Darla Sapp. She became city clerk of Ashland in 1982. I became city clerk in Hallsville in 1982. She's been here over 40 years. I was with the Hallsville city clerk for 30 years and also their court administrator. After that, I was the mayor of Hallsville for 4 years. So 4th class city and government is not new to me. I also run a very busy law firm in Columbia the last 12 years. I'm the office manager, legal assistant, but we are also city attorneys for several cities and including Hartsburg. I have donated my time for the last decade. I do their annual state auditor financial report. I went through 50 years worth of records and got them organized on what needed to be kept by law, what needed to be kept for historical purposes, and what could be gotten rid of. Also, a little bit else about me. I did take the seat of Sarah Walsh, and I want you to know she's one of my very best friends, and I will never be able to fill her red cowboy boots. But if you like Sarah, I think you'll like me. We're very like-minded, and we're very hard workers, and we do a lot. But what I want to tell you, what I do for Ashland behind the scenes for the last 7 years that you all don't even realize. For example, I came through Ashland Sunday, coming back from the Capitol, and I'm a litter nut, and I hate litter on state MoDOT highway right-of-ways. This was on 63 southbound, inside your city limits, and this was like 2 weeks ago or a week ago. This was a month and a half ago, and they're all over Boone County. I called them over a month ago to come get their signs, or I would throw them in the trash. So you all don't know that I've been picking up signs off of your streets for the last 7 years. Also, I can't get these, I gotta flip them upside down. Also, I'm a street light. Oh wait, I gotta go back. I gotta back up because I have to give Darla a glowing review. We collaborated and networked for those 30 years together. And she is just amazing, and I'm not just saying that, I mean it. But Gabe Edwards, when I was mayor of Hallsville, he was appointed our chief of police, so I've known Gabe for several years now. And I know he's been in law enforcement a long time, and kudos to Gabe for being your chief of police. Stephanie Bell is a good personal friend of mine. We've known each other for many years, and so hi Stephanie. I will be listening to you in the morning, I'm sure. And David, when he walked in, I went to y'all's website today. I wanted to get each and every one of your names, and I was like, David looks familiar, like I should know him. And walking in together, I said, do you work for the county? And you work for the sheriff's department. I assume you retired or don't anymore?
I'm still there.
You're still there. So I knew you from when I was with the city for 34 years. So anyway, a couple of things. If you all ever need anything from the state of Missouri, please contact me. My name is hard to spell and pronounce, but just Google District 44. Sarah has my cell phone. I can give Darla my cell phone. Gabe may still have my cell phone. I don't know. Stephanie has my cell phone. But I'm available 24/7. I drive through here 4 days a week, most of the year, and I'm very accessible. I give out my cell phone number readily to anybody and everybody. One of the things I do with the state, I've been doing this for a long time, is I'm the official ambassador for unclaimed property. I've returned millions of dollars to thousands of people. I found one person 19,000, another person 64,000. So this afternoon, because I type 100 words a minute and I'm a speed reader, I looked up every one of your names today. So some of you have money and some don't, and this is in no particular order. Mayor, you have money. Now what you can do is go to the Missouri State Treasurer website and just look it up, do it online. Oh yeah, I'm all about it. I'm from the government and I'm here to help, but when I say it, I mean it, literally. You can also call them. Their number's 573-751-01234. It's very easy to remember. Nathan, you have money. Ashland Police Department has money. And when I was city clerk of Hallsville, all you have to do, get the claim form, have the mayor sign a letter on city letterhead that your city treasurer is authorized to accept the money on behalf of the city of Ashland. Let me keep going down the list here. Wendy Heckman has some money. Gabe Edwards, you have several things of money. Yeah, you've been meaning to, right? Well, I will be glad to come to City Hall, sit down with all your staff, even citizens. I can schedule a Saturday at the library. There's more Gabe. Gabe, get on it, or I'm gonna have to come sit down with you. Is there a Curtis Bennett? Curtis Bennett. So if I didn't call your name, you may not have money, but if you need help, let me know. I do this as a hobby, and let's see. One of the things I'm really big about is streetlights, and I want to tell you all, because you're on 63 and I travel it all the time, I'm on MoDOT's butt constantly for something or another. They hate to hear me pick up the phone, email, or face-to-face with them. You all have streetlights, and I was really upset that between Ashland and Discovery Parkway, not a single streetlight had a number to it. So at Deer Park, do y'all remember the one that was knocked over and on the ground about a month or two ago? Well, I reported several months ago that streetlight was out, but guess what? There was no pole number to report it. And I said, I want those numbers on there, and I want them on there now, or I'll do it myself. But I'm just that kind of person, and I will do it myself. So anyway, they got them up within a week. As I'm coming down the northbound on-ramp, your light was not working, and guess what? It had a pole number on there, and I could call 188 Ask MoDOT and report it. So also, you all have a real problem with Ameren's light at your outer road, kind of as you're turning left to go to Mosier's and Dollar General. That light is out all the time, and I think it's pole number AS204. So I'm constantly calling 1-800-552-7583 to Ameren to report that light out. I'm working for you all, even before I represented you all. So Sarah and I work together. We've returned money to a lot of businesses and individuals throughout the area. I'm sure I'm forgetting something because I fly by the seat of my pants. I don't have a script. But are there any questions or anything I can help you with? I can get you old-fashioned roadmaps. MoDOT still prints them at your taxpayers' expense. I pick up enough litter between Hallsville and Jeff City. I probably have enough spoilers and car parts and tires. I've made a whole car out of them by now, probably. But I'm a litter freak, and I don't like our state highways full of litter. So I'm really, stopping if you see me with my 44 rep plates on the side of the road. I'm probably just picking up litter. It's a thing I do. Stephanie can tell you on my Facebook page, I'm a litter freak.
We need a new overpass. We've been asking for that for a long time. If you could
Where
get
would you
MoDOT to-
propose it to be?
Nate, we've talked about this a few times.
We know we got Rankin Tech coming in. I mean, are you talking south or north of the existing one?
The
Either way
RPC
would
just
help.
moved it south of the existing. It was on New Salem, but it's been moved south.
Okay. And does anybody like J-turns or hate J-turns? No, we won't go there. I'm just kidding. And everything takes money, but we just passed that new gas tax, and I know the city can get all their gas tax refunded back. But now as individuals, you all can also get your gas tax refund back. And if you don't have the form or know how to do it, I can tell you how to get your money back. Thank you all.
Thank you.
I will see you next year, if not sooner. I'm just a phone call away, and I drive through town all the time. And I've been picking up your all signs and litter and street lights for 7 years now. Thank you.
Move on to Jeremy Lindsay and Michelle Nichols, reference gravel parking lot. Please state your name and address, please.
Michelle Nichols, 509 East Johnson, Ashland, Missouri. And I'm referencing official notification received regarding property 507 East Broadway, stating a violation of ordinance 9.365.3 regarding a permeable versus non-permeable surface. This is an undeveloped for sale lot. that we cleaned up with an uninhabitable house that had never been addressed by the city, I would like to ask that the lot is for sale, undeveloped, to put thousands of dollars into a non-permeable surface, which then requires that water runoff reservoir, more thousands of dollars. When that lot sells, all of that has to be busted out, again, at thousands of dollars of expense. I would like you all to consider an amendment to the ordinance 9.365.3 to a dust-controlled, eye-appealing, maintained lot for this property and similar properties. If not, then I request that other properties in violation of ordinances be held to these same standards. First and foremost, the vacant lot that the city owns at Bass and Redbud. That lot, pictures from 2008, not 2004 when that ordinance was implemented, is a parking lot being developed. It was my understanding that if a lot was done after 2004, or if it was increased or changed in any manner, it was required to meet the ordinance. I show you, and I'll be happy to pass them around, in 2008, that lot was being constructed. 2013, I believe, I would have to look, sorry. It was, no, you can pass them around. It was more trees removed, more gravel applied. Today, there are no trees on that lot, and that lot is being utilized as an event. So therefore, it is not in compliance either. Oh. 107 Walnut, initial pictures, 2008, mobile home on that lot. 2013 and 13, mobile home on that lot. 2016, a vacant lot. 2023, it's now got not only trailers parked on it, but it has junk pile that is not meeting city ordinances. 509 East Broadway, initially started out as residences, also showing the vacant house that we tore down and improved the look coming into Ashland, of which we have received numerous compliments. 509 East Broadway was a residential. Somewhere around 16 to 18, it was turned into an office. Continues to have a gravel driveway and a gravel lot in behind today. 409 Redbud, 2008, 13, and 16, residential. It is now an active business with a gravel lot. Hair Studio, rebuilt last year. Gravel drive, gravel lot in the back. We'll move on to dangerous conditions. Oh, let's go with the baseball fields. Somewhere since 2017, also a gravel lot. Now, the next, on the flip side, has the city watershed. It does have a gravel lot. I cannot find the zoning on that, but what I did find was that it was zoned commercial. Therefore, it should also be a concrete lot if necessary. The driveway over to Sentinel that's by Dollar General is now a functioning business with selling mulch, retail services. Was a driveway, now has a parking lot in violation. Then we'll move to the mobile home lot that has multiple dangerous, fully accessible by anyone, not secured, not anything. So full violation of safety and in violation of dumping. This is what that lot looked like before we bought it. The flip side has how nice it looks coming into Ashland now. I just request the amendment, and I do appreciate your all's time.
Thank you for the comment.
Moving on to public hearing, I see none. Introductions and first readings. Can I get a motion to reconsider?
Mr. Mayor, I might interject here. At the last meeting, it was an oversight on my part. We only had 4 aldermen here. That's enough for a quorum, but to enact an ordinance, you need 4 affirmative votes. So last time we had some 3-to-1 votes, those failed. The 4 requirement doesn't change depending on the number of people here. I neglected to make that point. I do it now. So we have some matters that were taken up last time. The impression was that they had passed. They had not, because there were only 3 affirmative votes. You need 4, so that was the purpose on our agenda for the reconsider motions that you see. It's my opinion that we need a motion to reconsider. If that motion succeeds, you'll pick it up like it was brand new, and you can vote on it again. Apologies for the mistake.
Can I get a motion to reconsider Council Bill number 202123-019, an ordinance approving Middle Creek subdivision preliminary plat.
So the first motion doesn't pass this plat, it's just to take it back up again.
I'll make the motion.
Have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Staff report? Or do we need a staff report?
I mean, if you'd like one, he can give an overview.
Alright.
I'll try to give it over.
Do your digest first.
All right, to recap, this was for the Middle Creek subdivision preliminary plat. It is the property that's approximately 44.85 acres in size. It's at the southwest corner of East Chloe Harmon Road and South Crump Lane. This was proposed years prior, back in 2021, for 116 lots, and that has been reduced due to sewer availability to now 9 lots. So there are some residential R1, there's one zoned R2, but intended to be used as R1, which is allowable by code, and there's one CN, which is neighborhood commercial, which is to be developed later. But 8 of the lots are intended for single-family dwellings. So I can tell you the owner of the property and the engineer are here as well. So sewers being accessible was the first issue. I think we've remedied that, and they're aware that sewers will be responsible, and also at city utilities. Another question was about the hammerheads, and they rode through, which was rehashed at the last meeting. And it has since come up that cul-de-sacs are the only city-approved termination of a street more than 500 feet long in city code. So the engineer was aware, I mentioned this to him. He is willing to discuss it with any of you if necessary. This was approved by Planning and Zoning Commission, provided that each lot was connected to city utilities on main. Any questions for me?
Motion vote?
Yeah.
Okay. Now call a motion to approve or deny Council Bill number 2023-019, an ordinance approving Middle Creek subdivision.
May I speak to this?
We need some more
Change?
No, we're just approving because we didn't have enough people to pass
No,
it.
I mean, I get that, but he just added about the cul-de-sac.
Cul-de-sac.
So like, are we, I know Corey's gonna talk, but like, are we approving with cul-de-sacs? Are we approving with what?
What was the discussion first, real quick? Go ahead.
Corey Berthold, Engineering Surveys and Services. Last week, I was provided a letter from the city noting several sections of the city code. And I would just, a few things from that letter that I would like to point out and maybe clarify for the board. I know we've been through this a couple times now, various meetings, but I just want to make sure that these things are clear based on the latest letter that was provided. This was not the first choice for the development. There is a approved preliminary plat for the development that would have provided a more dense development, an extension of the street. But unfortunately, due to the city sewer capacity issues, the developer shared cost with the city in a sewer study that unfortunately shows that that area of the city, without significant investments, is not able to be served by the sewer. And I'm not aware of any plans or funding to be able to extend sewers to that area. So with that being the case, obviously the first development is no longer feasible. We had to come back with a different plan to be able to develop this property. The street widths of the turnaround do meet the city code second standard details. Interestingly, the appendix B1 cul-de-sac that is in the city standard detail does not meet fire code. It's not a large enough diameter radius in the code to be able to meet fire code. So the turnaround that we are providing does meet the fire code and is in compliance with the Boone County fire regulations.
So it's a hammerhead then that we've got?
It is a hammerhead, is what we currently propose.
The one we have in our, what was out today or yesterday did not meet code for turnarounds?
I couldn't tell you if they meet fire code or not. That's a fire department question.
The fire department requires a 96-foot diameter cul-de-sac, which is a very large expanse of pavement, very costly. Also, it would increase runoff in that area, which, you know, as I'm sure most of you are aware, that area is subject to drainage issues. So, you know, additional pavement, additional runoff in that area. You know, just more reasons why, in this scenario, we feel like the hammerhead is the preferred option. A cul-de-sac at the end of the street, as I mentioned last time, I think would increase the traffic into that area where people were comfortable driving down the street, you know, and turning around in the cul-de-sac with a hammerhead. It creates more of a private, you know, a little bit more restricted area where, you know, they're not gonna be as comfortable having to pull down to the end of the street. So hopefully, you know, keeping traffic to a minimum through that area, which I'm sure the residents of that area would prefer. It was mentioned in the letter also the future land use and street master plan. I don't believe the city has a street master plan. It does have a transportation plan and the future land use plan. There is no street extension shown through that property on that future land use and transportation plan. The lots that are proposed there on that lot are larger lots, obviously. There are currently larger lots to the west of that property. This development's not inconsistent with the other properties in that area.
Are there any other lots within the city limits that are 6 acres? I can't think of any.
This one.
Yeah, I haven't reviewed the entire city to, well, there's, I can think of quite a few lots that are larger within the city that You know, everything on the east side of the road over there behind Rankin is, you know, larger undeveloped lots, obviously. Well, those are actually platted lots and larger lots. You know, I can't specifically off the top of my head think of a residential lot that's.
There's only one residential lot of that size in town.
Yeah, the plan we presented does not inhibit development of the surrounding area. There's street stubs and extensions and streets surrounding the property. So we're not cutting off access to other properties. And, you know, again, this isn't the developer's first choice. They would happily go back to the original plan if there was sewer capacity available. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
As I brought up at the last meeting, you know, I'm still hesitant to approve this without putting a street through there. You know, to jump from 100 and something lots, which included streets that connected, down to this. Surely there's some way to meet in the middle there. You know, whether it's increasing it by a few lots to help him recoup the cost of the street. If we don't cut a street through at this time, it will never happen. And we're stuck basically forever with those dead ends and hammerheads that have happened over a lot of portions of the town simply because one developer didn't communicate with the next developer. So I would strongly recommend, if there isn't enough, if there is any other option to kind of meet in between, to make that northern connection, even if it was to increase the number of lots by a few, you know, and still make it feasible to connect with sewer without additional cost. That's my opinion.
And so then what is your response to what his comments are?
I mean, I do understand this concern, and really it seems like it's been a little bit of a moving target with the city as we've gone through this process. I think originally we were told that the sewer had no capacity, and so we came through to P&Z with the intent that we would provide on-site sewer because there was no sewer capacity. It's been revised since then that, you know, the sewer, you know, may have some capacity. It's never been entirely clear how many lots the city would allow to be connected. It was my understanding, like I said, initially that there was no capacity. Through this process, we've been required to connect the city sewers. So, again, it's been a little bit of a moving process, suffering delays, costing Mr. Myers money throughout this entire process with the further delays. You know, there are other streets in this area that could potentially be extended to the north and be extended to connect to Clelly Harmon and Crump Lane in the future. If it would help at all, we could potentially look at providing a street easement from the turnaround to the west to potentially connect to Christie if it was ever extended in the future. But I would ask that, you know, you not inflict further delays on this development. I mean, it's been, I believe the original preliminary plat was brought forth over a year ago, and we've been in this process tabled and delayed through this meeting that, you know, again, it's not very friendly to developers in the area with the delays that are being suffered here.
Well, I believe we approved the larger development. That's been approved for a long time. So.
Yes, it's been approved, but it can't be constructed because of the sewer issues with the city.
Just for clarification there, the lift station is at capacity. The developer was always informed that the lift stations would need to be increased in order to
That's
convey
not
that
true.
larger. Corey, I sat in a meeting with you last year and talked about all this. So, I mean, it's fine, but there's always been capacity. It's the lift stations that would feed this development that would need to be upsized in order to convey that number of lots.
If that was the case, we paid for the study. This was before you were here. If we had known that, we wouldn't have paid for the study.
Can I ask a question? If the developer comes in and you say there is capacity, but you have to do the lift station, have you had that conversation previously with developers?
Certainly. I mean,
And
there's
then-
not a developer in this town that hasn't had to put in some sort of infrastructure in order to facilitate their development.
And
Every new
that-
subdivision has a lift station. This one is particularly challenging because the lift stations that they would pump to are at capacity. So they can't take 160 lots and put in there without improving those lift stations.
And this is why a town the size of Ashland has 20 pumps. Which is a crazy number for a town of this size.
But in the past, when you have that conversation, then those improvements are, the developer's ownership for those improvements?
As far as I'm tracking, the city's never put money into improving lift stations or adding lift stations for development.
But I think the city would typically be a partner in improving the infrastructure to be able to improve capacity, which with this development and anything to the north side of town, it's not just a matter of improving the immediate lift station, as was mentioned. It would be a matter of those lift stations pumped to other lift stations, and you're talking to the tune of millions of dollars to be able to develop the initial development.
I would also mention, and this is something that's come up in our discussions in the past, and I think any number of towns struggle with this. Because planning and zoning and developments are contentious issues with lots of developments, under our law, we have a P&Z system. You have a whole body whose whole job it is to sort these things out, have hearings, have meetings. They are only a recommending body, as you know. You all hold the final say. But there is a notion that if you're gonna go through all the hoops of going through P&Z and satisfying them, not required, you could deny a plan for any particular caprice or reason. But it does, in my estimation, bode poorly for folks who volunteered their time and effort to be on P&Z and, give it their time and attention and focus, to disregard them on something slight. That's not to say your suggestion is slight. I don't mean that at all. But I just remind you that the process that he's talking about, all developers complain about costs. All developers want it done yesterday, I know that. But I do think here it's worth mentioning that there was a great deal of discussion there.
I would just add that we believe this plan complies with the intent of the city code. The turnaround that is provided meets the fire code, improves the safety of the currently dead-end street. Again, we believe that it complies with the intent of the city code.
So ultimately, I think the issue is, in talking to Corey, like, I don't think this is Corey's preferred method of utilizing this lot. Obviously, we saw the plat for that previously. I mean, I think Corey would also say that this is not like the greatest design that's ever come through to be potentially in the middle of town someday, right? I mean, that's what people mention the size a lot. But at the end of the day, the issue is it in compliance, even if it's just barely within compliance? And ultimately, how long do you make the owner of the property sit and wait, right? Because that's something they expressed to me when I talked to him about it, is obviously if he could afford to just sit and wait for the whole north side of town to develop and come back and do something with it, maybe he would. But he bought it with the intention of the plat that we saw originally, and although we would probably like to see some tweaks and things here and there, it's not our land. So if it fits in the plan, in the code, even if just barely, I mean, I think it would be unfair at this point to hold it up any longer.
I have a question. What's the difference in the cost between the hammerhead and a cul-de-sac? And one that would meet the requirements for fire department? What's the difference in the cost?
As I've said, the hammerhead that we proposed meets the city street width requirements and also meets the fire code requirements. With a cul-de-sac, it's required to be a 96-foot diameter. It's gonna be a lot more pavement. I don't have the specific cost off the top of my head, but I would, guess somewhere in the magnitude of, approximately double the cost of the hammerhead. From design purposes, no real apparent gain.
Does the hammerhead, would it have curb and sidewalk
Yes,
in some manner?
yes, it
I
would
mean,
have.
Because that was the only other thing that I think Corey and I had talked about. I mean, it's been a couple of weeks since I talked to him about it. But, again, I think that it fits. Maybe not perfectly, but it fits. And I don't know about if our approval now consider some of the things we talked about, streetlights or requiring the property developers to put a light like along their driveway or whatever the case may be. And that's maybe more of a question to you guys, is if that is considered now or not, because I would like to see some of that stuff revisited in the final about like requirements for street lighting and that kind of thing. Because we're talking, city, codes required to have street lights, X number. These people's, it's gonna be a private driveway, but it's gonna be like 4 times longer than your standard. So it could potentially create large, black, dark spots in the middle of town, so to speak, if there's not a light at least, required along their driveway somewhere or something.
I'd make it to where they put lights in the front. They're gonna be safety lots, so it'll look better anyways.
Yeah, so as long as that stuff is also considered, then I'm okay with that.
Yeah, if the cul-de-sac is a sticking point, then I would ask that you, conditionally approve with the addition of a cul-de-sac, if that's a sticking point. Again, for many different reasons, we believe that the hammerhead turnaround is the better option here.
I think having sidewalks on it, in my opinion, having sidewalks around it is hypothetically more important
That's what I was
than the cul-de-sac itself is. Just something that gives it a finished look. People can walk, down around there and back or whatever.
Why didn't think the hammerhead had a sidewalk and curb?
The plans for the hammerhead are still in review by the city, so that could be certainly added if that's a.
What kind of easements could you consider for future street development that you had mentioned?
Again, I think potentially an easement to the west, potentially connect any, future extension of Christie that would go to the north. That wouldn't inhibit the development. I guess Corey would have to speak to what else he might be willing to consider.
Well, and that's does Corey own that one to the west? Because Christie lines up with somebody else's property, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of wouldn't matter.
If that property, in terms of city planning and extension.
That property won't develop, but you could at least.
Yeah, but like he
Christie
couldn't
to-
say, I'll give you an easement to hook Christie up because he can't get there. Kind of.
Justin owns that
Okay,
completely.
okay.
Make a motion to approve. And then with consideration of the hammerhead.
It's whatever somebody wants to make a motion for at this point.
I'd like to make a motion to approve as currently presented with the fact that the hammerhead's still in review, right? Is that what you said, with the city? Because it's not like a done deal, right? You're designing it, sending it to them.
The designs for the hammerhead itself are currently in review by the city.
Okay. So,
I think this would be the time to impose a requirement for a cul-de-sac if somebody felt that was
I would agree.
absolutely necessary.
Your motion is, motion to approve with the hammerhead. The fact that it's being reviewed by the city, I wouldn't get hung up on that. You would be approving.
I just mean pending approval, I mean, I don't wanna say, I know I don't have the power to circumvent that particular process, but if it's in review and they say, we don't like it, kick it back, I don't want it to look like we just said, forget the process that's in there.
There's not gonna be much review on the design specifications for the hammerhead itself. It's whether or not sidewalks would be required as a public street or not. Is the only thing that would need to be.
I'd be willing to add the sidewalks in there.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve as currently presented with the hammerhead and sidewalks, hammerhead sharks, sidewalks added, to the hammerhead.
Wait a second.
Second.
Alderman Blank?
Nay.
Alderman Wilcart?
Aye.
Alderman Bell?
Aye.
Alderman Old?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
And Alderman Lewis?
Nay.
So 4-2, it passes.
Moving on, Council Bill number 2023-2023, ordinance approving the Bluegrass South State Plat 1C.
All right, this is a replat of what is known as Lot 1C. It's for lots 105 and 106 of Bluegrass South Estates. The purpose of this replat is to combine Lot 105 and 106, creating Lot 106A. The owner of the property is Ashland Reynolds LLC, which the owner is here tonight. And the submitting engineering firm is Allstate Consultants, which engineers here as well. If you have any questions, Christina Lubert of Lubert Engineering did the review for the city. So currently lot 106 is approximately 0.98 acres and lot 105 is approximately 0.67 acres in size. Lot 106A will be approximately 1.65 acres. These parcels are at the northeast corner of Henry Clay Boulevard and Red Tail Drive. It's currently zoned CG, both lots. The merging of lots 105 and 106 are necessary to allow the owner to construct an addition to the current building on lot 106. The owner will then be able to create additional commercial tenant space. The existing drainage easement is to be vacated, as there will be new underground stormwater detention for the entire site. Staff recommends approval of the replat of lots 105 and 106, as it appears to have met the requirements of the city code. This was also approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission on June 13, 2023.
Any questions for staff? No? Can I get a motion approving Council Bill number 2023-023, an ordinance approving Bluegrass South Estate Plot 1C?
I'll make that motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Alderman Lewis?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Old?
Aye.
Alderman Bell?
Aye.
Alderman Wilcart?
Aye.
And Alderman Flame?
Aye.
Moving on to Council Bill number 2023-024, an ordinance approving Founder's Ridge revised preliminary plat.
This is a preliminary plat for the proposed Founder's Ridge subdivision. The owner of this parcel is Barbara Ann Welch, and the submitting firm is Nathaniel Surveys and Designs, and a representative for the owners is here tonight. This plat was reviewed by Christina Lubert of Lubert Engineering. The subject property is Plat 1 of Founder's Ridge subdivision. This parcel is approximately 20 acres in size and is located on State Route M, directly south of Sunset Meadows subdivision. The proposed development will eventually tie into Liberty Landing North on the south end of the property. Zoning classification is R1, single-family residential. The proposed subdivision preliminary plat consists of 60 lots for single-family homes, ranging in size from just over 8,000 square feet to almost 21,000 square feet. There is a tree line buffer on the east side that has been conveyed to the adjacent owner by quitclaim deed. The owner was informed that although Welch Drive qualifies as a local street, there will not be parking allowed on either side due to its 28-foot width. There will be sidewalks along all interior streets and along Route M as required by Code Section 11.2 265. Sanitary sewer will be tied into the lift station for Liberty Landing North. There are some stormwater issues that are minor that will be addressed before construction and or final plat. Staff is supportive of this preliminary plat as it appears to have met the requirements set forth in the city code. This was also approved by planning and zoning on June 13th.
Any questions for staff? Got one. There's the issue, not an issue, but there will be a sidewalk built along Route M, correct?
Correct.
But not Liberty Lane. Is that a correct statement?
So it ties into Liberty Lane and North. It's not actually.
So it won't be road frontage.
Liberty Lane, yeah. Route M is the road frontage.
Doesn't go that far south.
Yeah, it doesn't go that far south.
But there's already sidewalk down there on Liberty Lane.
Okay. You said it was gonna be, the roads are gonna be narrow, not allow parking on the side?
According to city code, the width of the streets proposed would dictate that no parking signs are on both sides of the street. So it would be all street parking.
Why is that? Why are we putting narrow road? But
It matches the profile for the existing mulch, which is 50 foot. So that's 50 foot dictates a 28 foot right of way, street frontage.
It is allowed in the city code.
But there would be no parking along that roadway at all.
Correct.
So what happens when they have mom and dad's car, Billy's car, Sally's car, Sally's boyfriend's car? Okay.
I believe Brian had a comment on the covenants, right? Weren't you gonna do something parking wise?
Yeah, we were gonna, write in the covenants that they had to have so many off-street parking, pay parking. And if you look at it, the roads are the same width as in Liberty Lane.
So we like, put like a little wing wall or something onto the concrete, is that what you're saying?
Well, most of these are slab homes, so they'd just be a driveway, so they could put,
It'd be concrete, right?
and the lots are plenty large. We redid the plat to allow for whatever you wanna put on
Extra
these.
parking.
Yeah.
You can't convince people to clean out their garage though, or not vent their boat or or buy a storage unit. I mean, that's the problem in these other places. And when we had the meeting, people are like, well, I gotta park my car on the street. Well, what's in your garage? You know, pay for a storage unit. So unless you put some other restrictions in, people are messy. I would suggest, especially like utility vehicles, RVs, I know right now if they're hooked up to a truck or if they're on whatever, but they should not be parked in driveways, they just shouldn't, and I think that would help some of our parking issues. And those can be done in an HOA type document.
Any other questions? All right, can I get a motion to approve Council Bill number 2023-024, an ordinance approving Founder's Ridge revised preliminary plat?
I'll make that motion.
Can I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Alderman Lewis?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Nay.
Alderwoman Elwood?
Aye.
Alderwoman Bell?
Aye.
Alderman Bocard? Aye. And Alderman Flake?
Nay.
4-0. Motion carries. Moving on to old business. Reconsider ordinance number 1443, an ordinance approving Southwind Track split final plat. Do we need to just make a motion to?
Same thing, need a motion to reconsider, and then a motion to pass it.
Need a motion to reconsider ordinance number 1443, an ordinance approving Southwind Track split final plat.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Should need for the reconsideration.
Can I get a motion to approve?
Oh, you need
You need a
a
vote.
you
No,
have to vote.
Sorry. Alderman Lewis?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Old?
Aye.
Alderman Bell?
Aye.
Alderman Bocard?
Aye.
And Alderman Flake?
Nay.
Motion carries.
So that's the
Now we need a motion to, I'll get a motion to approve ordinance number 1443, and ordinance approving Southwind track split final plat.
I'll make the motion.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Alderman Blank?
Nay.
Alderman Volkart?
I mean, you made a motion too fast, I don't even know why they voted against it last time. I mean, so, I mean, I can't abstain, so I'll say aye.
Alderman Bell?
Aye.
Alderman Old?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Lewis?
Aye.
Reconsider ordinance number 1444, and ordinance approving Southwind plat 7 and 8 preliminary plat. Can I get a motion to reconsider ordinance number 1444 and ordinance approving Southwind plat 7 and 8 preliminary plat? Can I get a second?
Second.
Alderman Lewis?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Old?
Aye.
Alderman Bell?
Aye.
Alderman Volkart?
Aye.
And Alderman Plank?
Nay.
All right, before you do anything.
Darren, give an update on the track split and how it plays into this one.
Oh, for Southwinds?
Yeah, so. Just
Okay.
so it's up to speed.
So we've passed reconsidering, we can now, that's the last reconsidering, by the way.
Okay. All right, so this was for Southwind track split. So what they did is just reconfigured the lots. There were two parcels there originally, but to get them to align with the new plat 7 and 8, what was lot 1 and 2 before, they had to reconfigure and resize those parcels. So, lot 1 and 2, so lot 1 would become phase 7, and it would be approximately 22.03 acres, and lot 2 would become phase 8, which is 22.08 acres. This is Southwind plat 7 and 8, so on the very south end of that subdivision. So this property sits between South Old Highway 63, which is Center Clay, and South Highway 63, and it's just south of the current Southwind subdivision, current zoning R1. So staff was in support of this. Staff believes that the developer has met the intended requirements set forth in the city code. This was approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission on May 9th.
May I ask what your disapproval with it was, if you recall?
Yeah, sure. I just think that, as a city, we've got to focus on infrastructure issues, and I feel like we've grown too fast and too much for the last decade or so. And I think we need to slow down housing development a little bit and focus on taking care of what we have. That's my main reasoning.
Darren, can you give an update on sidewalk status?
So the engineer is here now, but I don't know, I've never heard anything back. We proposed an escrow amount of 40,000 for the sidewalks, as opposed to them being put in. So by not hearing anything, I assume they would put them in, and these are the sidewalks along Henry Clay, that's what was.
And that's what we discussed,
The first
like 2.
Yep. So, but again, that's a discussion that we could have. They'll either go in or either.
So you said you proposed the 40,000 escrow, but you haven't heard back, so
Correct.
So they're either.
can we ask, is there any objection to that?
Darren, would you like me to speak to it? Absolutely. Sure, they can do it. She's doing that, so.
Brian Fuller with McClure Engineering, Lombardo, the guys from Lombardo couldn't be here. Darren and, did get us a number for the escrow. At this point, the discussion has been that the preliminary plat would be approved contingent on the sidewalk either being built at the time of development or escrowing that money in. The number they sent us is fine, we're comfortable with that. Lombardo hasn't really made a final decision on if they would like to escrow that amount or build it when the development occurs. Part of that is because they aren't exactly sure when they will do the development once this preliminary plat is, if it is approved. But we're comfortable with a condition of approval being either building the sidewalk at the time the subdivision is developed, so all at once, not on the individual lot developments, or escrowing the $40,000 that staff has suggested.
So they're good either way.
Yeah.
So that's fine. Any other questions? All right, can I get a motion to approve ordinance number 1444, an ordinance approving Southwind Plat 7 and 8 preliminary plat? Alderman Plank?
Nay.
Alderman Bocart?
Need a motion.
Someone,
Alderman
no one
Burns,
needs
second. Sorry, I need a motion. Sorry.
So moved.
Second.
So does the motion need to include the contingency for
We
the
added that.
sidewalks, or is that just
We
added?
added that last time.
Okay,
So a first from Bell.
Second from
I'll second.
Alderman Plank was an A. Alderman Bocart?
Aye.
Alderman Bell?
Aye.
Alderman Old?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
And Alderman Lewis?
Aye.
Motion carried. Ordinance number 1442, an ordinance approving Middle Creek subdivision preliminary plat. Rehash.
That's a rehash.
Second reading.
Any questions for staff?
Do we have to make the exact same motion?
So that first motion put that restrictive language into the ordinance, so you don't need to rehash it, you're certainly welcome to rehash it.
Well, I mean, I know it's the second reading, so I wanna make sure that's right.
Whatever you want Darla to,
I don't wanna have to do that again. Darla can read it. No, yeah, that's fine.
Motion.
I get a motion approving ordinance number 1442, an ordinance approving Middle Creek subdivision preliminary plat.
So moved.
Have a second? Alderman Lewis?
Nay.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Old?
Aye.
Alderman Bell?
Aye.
Alderman Bocart?
Aye.
And Alderman Blank.
Nay.
Motion carries 4-2. Ordinance number 1446, an ordinance approving Bluegrass South States Plat 1C.
This second read again.
Alright, second reading. Call for motion to approve ordinance 1446, an ordinance approving Bluegrass South Estate Plat 1C.
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
Alderman Plank?
Aye.
Alderman Bocart?
Aye.
Alderman Bell?
Aye.
Alderman O?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
And Alderman Lewis?
Aye.
Ordinance number 1447, an ordinance approving Founder's Ridge preliminary plat.
Second read.
I get a motion to approve 1447, an ordinance approving Founder's Ridge preliminary plat.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Lewis?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Nay.
Alderman Old?
Aye.
Alderman Bell?
Aye.
Alderman Bocart?
Aye.
Alderman Blank?
Nay.
Moving on to new business, a resolution authorizing the appropriation of funds to certain accounts within the fiscal year budget 2024.
The community development will need a budget amendment increase to revenue line 10-11-41-12 and 10-11-51-35 due to the increase in reimbursable costs and billings for the city engineer and plan review. The city has engaged the services of Looper Engineering to serve as the city engineer and plan reviewer. When the initial budget was created, projections for the revenues for line 10-11-41-12 and the expenses for 10-11-51-35 aligned with reimbursable service billings for the prior engineer and community development department head. The contractual cost for services has been increased since the fiscal year 24 budget was passed, as well as the amount of submissions requiring review.
Therefore, we are asking to amend the budget to reflect projected amounts not only for services billed, but also for the amounts that are reimbursable. At the request of the Community Service Department Head Darren Ratterman and myself, the City Treasurer, we are asking that revenue line 10114112 increase to 40,000 and expense line increase to 20,000. There is no overall impact to the budget because the increase in revenue is going to be the same as the increase in the expense, as the projected revenue was at 20 already. And staff recommends approval of the resolution.
Can I get a motion approving resolution authorizing the appropriation of funds to certain accounts within the fiscal year 2024 budget?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Plank?
Aye.
Alderman Wolfart?
Aye.
Alderman Bell?
Aye.
Alderman Old?
Aye.
Alderman Lewis?
Aye.
And Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
A resolution regarding the revised red tail office site plan.
All right, this is the revised site plan for the Red Tail Office Complex to go on lot 1, or plat 1C. It's what is to become lot 106A of Bluegrass South Estates. The purpose of the site plan is to build an addition onto the east of the existing building. The owner of the property is Ashland Reynolds LLC, and submitting engineering firm is Holston Consultants. Christina Weaver of William Engineering performed the review. Currently, lot 106 is approximately 0.98 acres, as I said before, and 105.67. Lot 106 will become 1.35 acres. Current zoning is CG. With the creation of lot 106A, the owner will be able to build a 7,000 square foot addition of office space. Stormwater again will be managed by on-site underground retention. An additional driveway access will be installed on the east end of the property. Public sidewalk to be installed, this is important, that will link the residential neighborhood to Henry Clay for the first time in its existence. I mean, we're talking decades. This one lot has been holding it up. And I think that is important to know. So obviously staff recommends approval of the site plan. Staff recommends approval of the site plan for lot 106A Bluegrass South, as it appears to have met the requirements of the city code. This was approved by planning and zoning on June 13th.
Any questions for staff? Can I get a motion approving a resolution regarding the revised red tail office site plan?
I'll make a motion.
Can I have a second, please?
I'll second.
We can wait for Stephanie for a vote.
Wait till she gets back. Mockery set already.
Meetings don't normally go this long.
Fort Knox around here.
Well, I can say this is more entertaining than the hour and a half I spent at the DMV on Friday meetings. Hour and a half.
Which location?
Did you get your real ID?
I did not.
The south
It was just for license plates.
South
South location,
Wow.
yes.
So for Stephanie, it's been moved and seconded to approve a resolution regarding the revised red tail office site plan.
Alderman Lewis?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Old?
Aye.
Alderman Bell?
Aye.
Alderman Wilkart?
Aye.
And Alderman Plank?
Aye.
And, a resolution regarding the site plan for lakeside parking lot expansion.
All right. So this report is for the expansion of the parking lot for Lakeside Ashland. The owner of the property is Lakeside Development Group, and the submitting firm is Private Engineering. Christina Liebert of Liebert Engineering performed the review. This is 5900, the address is 5900 East Log Providence Road, is approximately 34.95 acres at the southwest corner of East Log Providence and South Highway 63. Zoning classification is CG. This is an expansion of the existing parking lot, adding 187 spaces. An additional 2 ADA spaces will be added north of the existing 7. With the added parking lot, the total parking spaces available will be 403. The owner has determined this parking is needed to accommodate event parking. The access and utility easement at the north end has been slightly adjusted to accommodate the new parking. The anticipated site disturbance is approximately 2.25 acres. A traffic study, an amendment to the traffic study was done, the original traffic study. And these additional spaces should not cause any additional congestion. However, the study did raise concerns about future phasing to the west, which will require additional review. And it's been stated to the developer to remain vigilant, due to the traffic study, to remain vigilant and stay on the queue lines and adjust if they start to build too much, to adjust as necessary to move the conditional use from back when it was approved the first time. So with that being said, staff recommends approval of the parking lot expansion as it appears to have met the requirements of the city code. This was approved by planning and zoning on June 30th.
I know we have some people in the audience that would like to speak.
So it would be my opinion that if they're not on the agenda and they did not ask to be put on the agenda by the deadline, they're happy to speak when we get down to public comment.
Gotcha, thank you.
That said, if a member wants to be recognized and do it that way, but you guys have a good rule about signing up to be on the agenda. Some folks and I have done it. I would encourage you to abide by that.
Sounds good.
It's typically for anything not on the agenda. So in the past, we've allowed public to speak on each item, public comment for each.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah,
All right,
that's.
well,
I guess I misunderstood. I'm sorry.
I said, the sign up is for anything not on the agenda. In the
Oh, I see.
past, we have allowed
I see.
comment on it.
Sure.
It's just in the recent past, there haven't been a lot of issues that people have showed up to talk
I see.
about.
So we'll open it up for.
So, well, I mean, first, do we have questions of staff before we open up the public comment?
Yes, sir.
I don't really have one, but I was just seeing if there was, because we usually do that first, right?
I don't think there's a lot of issue with this.
So the recommendations on the addendum to the traffic study, when they were presented, was there any concern raised? When they recommended that they stay vigilant, I mean, were they
Right.
agreeable to that, or say, no, we don't
I
wanna
see
do
what
it,
you're
or
saying.
what do you?
Thanks, sir.
Yeah,
My mistake.
they're agreeable to that, and they've done a good job so far controlling traffic, making sure that it doesn't get out of hand.
And adding these spaces are just gonna help him be able to.
It'll give him more queue space
Correct.
to file the cars in.
There have been events there with more than that number of people, right? Because they were asking around to try to find off-site parking at other
Correct.
locations, and then I think folks in Ashland weren't exactly cooperative, and so my understanding is they actually moved people to Boone County and were busing people in.
So the first event was a charity event, and they brought those students in from downtown, bused them in.
Yeah.
The Cannabis Festival, they parked them at Boone County Fairgrounds.
Yeah. So it's not like they haven't had events with this number of people there, it's just the number of cars might be increased. Have there been, I know there's been noise complaints, have there been traffic complaints about those events?
For those particular events, I mean, I'll let Gabe speak to it. I think we had a few illegally parked cars on MoDOT right away, but.
But he called and had those removed, correct? So,
The first complaint was self-reported type of thing, just to keep complaints out of it, because he was trying to be compliant with everything, and the other, I believe, was just somebody that was driving by.
so taking the festival. Taking some fun.
No, that's it, thank you.
What is your opinion on the turnaround that was stipulated or recommended in the first traffic study? If you can remember that.
I wasn't here for that, but, the driveway is plenty wide, so if for some reason someone is in the turn lane and they pull up and they don't have a ticket, which they're supposed to order them in advance. So, there's plenty of room to turn them around right as they come in, but that's up to the staff on the event to do that. Again, being vigilant about traffic.
Can you also speak to the additional traffic? And I know that the Lakeside Ashland is not responsible for this additional traffic, but the new warehouse, Amazon warehouse, with the additional traffic there, plus the new terminal at the airport. How does that affect the big picture?
So I don't know that the terminal, it's my understanding they haven't added many more flights at the airport than they had before. So that isn't really any additional traffic. It looks like more because they added more parking lots, but when you have free parking, people will choose to park their cars there when it's free, as opposed to leaving your car at home, they can do whatever. As far as the warehouse, I know most of their deliveries are made in the morning. So by afternoon, they're pretty much.
Say, move towards Amazon, you're done by 2, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
it
said
was
the
completely
people
empty.
show up at like 5 in the morning and are out by 9 or something, so it's like, it was a ghost town, there was nobody there in the middle of the day.
I wouldn't affect that.
And lakeside events are typically in the afternoon, late afternoon to
And there are fewer flights right now than there were before pre-pandemic. Hopefully not for long.
Gabe, did you happen to get any complaints about the balloon glow event? That was month ago, month and a half?
I only received one complaint on that, but we were in the thick of it.
The only reason I wonder is just, I recall that I can't say that I've ever seen, cars lined all the way up to almost Deer Park on 63 southbound shoulder, waiting to get onto the ramp to attend. So I didn't know if that was something that had triggered.
She had like crazy unexpected turnout.
That's
Well,
what they
that's-
say
I mean, that's
every
what I
year.
Huh?
That's what they say every year,
Well,
like
this
3
one,
years ago, I sat on the side of the highway.
I don't know, she outdid herself this year. I just like it was insane. Like it rivaled when Donald Trump came to town. So.
Let's open up the public.
Alright.
Any public?
Are we time limiting this?
Yes, 5 minutes.
Thank you very much for letting me speak, I appreciate it.
Please state your name and address, sir.
Sorry. Matt Coley, 4520 East Log Providence Road. I'm gonna answer just a couple of the questions and kind of some comments, but let's kind of jump into it. I'm asking that this resolution be tabled until we actually do a new traffic study. The traffic study that was filed as part of this was just an amended one to the original one. It used the same base assumptions and just worked from that and didn't do any kind of updated analysis. So it started with the traffic study from 2021, assumed a 2% annual growth, and then looked at the traffic volumes based on that. That would be 4% growth. So when you put that into the roundabout on the west side, that's 12 additional cars. That's really not a whole lot. When you go to your question about Amazon, that wasn't taken into account. The airport expansion wasn't taken into account, that 2% growth. The airport expansion was a terminal, new terminal, and a longer runway. So you have bigger planes. Passenger increases up about 3% from 2001 to 2022. So, and that's not including the new terminal. So you are having increased traffic there. The Amazon facility has traffic in and out in the morning and then in the evening as well. So it's not just a ghost town after 9 o'clock. So what I would ask is that we table it because of the problems with the traffic study. We conduct a new one and look at the actual traffic volumes and then take correct assumptions into place. If there's any questions.
sir. Appreciate the comment.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Lucy Hess. I have two properties, 5027 East Log Providence Road and 4855 East Log Providence Road. One's new and one's for sale. Well, actually it's sold. Anyway, so my concern is that I got caught in that big traffic jam at the balloon thing. And I'm concerned I had to wait a long time, and I was just trying to make a left turn to go home across the interstate into Log Providence, and it just took forever. People were lined up forever, and it was just a bad situation. And I'm concerned if we have the same numbers going to Lakeside as Mr. Parks is hoping to have. He said he's thinking he's gonna have between 7,000 to 10,000 people there. And he said that to media, because I talked to the media person about that. And that's a lot of people, and that's a lot of cars. And if he has that many people coming and going, we're gonna end up in the same situation as the balloon festival. It just would not set up to handle that amount of people. Log Providence is one way, basically, a very small, old-fashioned one-lane road. Don't change it because it's very nice. But we really need to kind of keep consideration on how it's gonna affect our living and our driving back and forth, emergency situations, et cetera. The other thing I'm thinking is that if he was supposed to put in a turnaround and he did not put in a turnaround, so that other people that come in that don't have tickets, did not understand that they have to have tickets, could easily turn and, be turned out safely. The thing is, and I understand this gentleman thinks the road's wide enough for them to turn around. If I went in there with my pickup truck, I couldn't turn around. It's not wide enough for me to come in. There's a lot of people that go in with pickup trucks, SUVs, other large vehicles. I don't believe it's big enough for anybody to go in there and turn around and come back out, especially now that they've moved the ticketing up farther up the road. It is not at the entrance. It's up farther at the top of the hill. So basically, somebody gets up there, can't go any farther, how are they gonna get out of the way for the other people that are backing up the road? So that's a whole issue. I think, if nothing else, he should put the turnaround in so we're assured that people aren't backing up the road. I've been on their Facebook page, and sometimes people don't even know that they have to have tickets ahead of time. And so there's a whole lot of discussion about that. I just don't see how he can have more people there than what he's been having. And this huge number of people, it's just not gonna work out. So I would hope that you all at the very least, make him hold to that promise that he was gonna put that turnaround in. There is no turnaround, and that road is not wide enough for the access of people who aren't supposed to be there. Thank you all for listening, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for the comment.
Thanks.
Any other public comments?
Additional questions?
What was the deal with the turnaround?
Darren, can you speak, because the traffic study suggested that yes, a turnaround might be nice, but has there ever been any requirement to your knowledge on this property or the submittal that one be required?
As far as the first traffic study,
From what I remember, it was in the plans at a later stage to do that, but I don't think it's been a requirement. It's just been there as a suggestion and for something as they grow.
What kind of motion would somebody like to make?
I have a question first about the traffic study.
Okay.
Is this common practice to not do a new traffic study, but to do an addendum to update? Can somebody explain how that works or what?
You'd have to look at the original and see if there's, it's the same engineer that reviewed it.
Yeah.
And created the addendum.
And I'm not sure what a traffic a new traffic study would really even show, you know, it's
Well, when I looked at
on this particular thing, on
yeah,
increasing the parking, you would think additional parking would help get those cars in off of the road faster.
and when I looked at that, the addendum mentioned the original traffic study was based on 445 parking spaces, and this addition brings it up to 403, so I don't know that,
So it's still not
To
even
me-
up to
yeah, it doesn't, I mean,
what it was.
Doesn't work.
there've been some conditions that have changed, but if the first traffic study was based on that larger number of parking spaces, maybe a full-blown new traffic study isn't warranted, I don't know.
Is there an estimate of how many people were at that bowling alley?
No,
Okay.
all of them.
All of Columbia.
I would,
That is so weird.
I don't know, but and I'm not trying to downplay their concerns at all, but I can't imagine that there would be as many people at Lakeside as there was at the Blue that night. There were, when she says that there were a lot of people, there were a lot of people there.
Yeah.
That is a fact.
Can I have a motion to,
Can I make a motion? Go ahead.
No, you're, I don't know.
I move to amend the resolution if I can, to include, along with the parking lot expansion, the construction of a turnaround area in the driveway there. If that makes any sense. If we compare those together.
was it in the original plan? We need to find that out first.
Is the owner here?
It's on phase 2. What we could possibly do, so with the expansion of this parking lot, like eventually in that phase 2, they're gonna have another driveway further down East Log Providence, or we propose to have one there, and then they would be linked internal to the site, and that's the turnaround that everyone's referencing. It may not be much to ask Nick to have a spot where they can pull in back and turn right there where that proposed future connector would be, but that's something we can float past them and see if there's an opinion on it.
And to your point, if I understand the purpose of your amendment, which makes perfect sense, I would want the owner here to, yes, I would agree with that, because what we don't wanna do is, pass that with the understanding, pending or, contingent upon this turnaround, and he's like, I don't wanna do that. I mean, we have reason to believe he intended to at some point in the past, but.
I remember what Kyle's talking about. The other road will connect to the
Right.
two roads together. I remember that section. So that's down the road though. I mean, it's gonna.
But I presume the traffic amendment implies you had a traffic study and you did something else with it, yes?
Correct.
And that, what I would describe as a recalculation, that'd be a fair way to describe it, is look, what would we anticipate happening with more parking spaces, yes?
And I'll add to that, so on the original one, they anticipated 250 spaces, and they ended up building 216, or 17, give or take. In this one, they anticipated 435, but on the plans that I counted them, it only shows 403.
What year was that second one done?
The second traffic
Last
study?
month? Last month?
This year.
My 2 cents is that I would rather kind of let the market dictate that than the government. I mean, it's gonna be bad business on his practice if that thing is jamming up and people aren't getting in, because then he's gonna be getting complaints saying, why is it taking so long to get in? So it's in his best interest to make sure people can get in and out. I haven't heard a single complaint that the reason the road is backing up is because people can't turn around. I stopped in there one day myself, and the gate was up, but I was just trying to look at it, and I had to turn around. Now granted, there weren't a whole bunch of other people there, but I think, in this instance, I haven't heard any reason why the government should be telling this guy to put in a turnaround.
I have to agree.
Well,
I mean, the issue, and I'm not trying to be flippant about the situation, but like, there's not cars stuck there right now because somebody can't turn around, right? Like, they've all managed to get out, and we haven't heard any specific issues about that, nor should we. I mean, that's not, that's not something the aldermen legislate, is turnaround space.
But like Kyle said, the turnaround is coming later. It's gonna be connecting two roads together. So there's not really an issue.
Well, and that would, I mean, that's almost not even a turnaround, right? I mean, that's a drive, through,
Come in and out,
right?
basically.
So I have to lean towards Stephanie's point, is that I don't know that legislating a turnaround, is something that we even do at this point. I mean, I don't even think I don't know that it's appropriate.
Can I say something, or is it past?
We'll let you know.
Okay. My name is Sherry Coley, and I live at 4520 East Log Providence Road, and I don't know how many of you actually looked at the traffic study addendum. Did you all see it? Did you ever see it? There is a paragraph on the last page where they recommend a turnaround. They specifically recommend one, so I think it would be a mistake to ignore that recommendation.
Well, but to your point, again, I know it's not a question and answer session, but just like, to the point is, that recommendation isn't for us, I don't believe. I mean, just like the recommendation to keep up with their ticketing practices, to keep up with I mean, at some point, this is his business and his responsibility to run it appropriately and within the confines of the laws. I don't know that recommendation is for us.
But it also is supposed to prevent traffic congestion.
Well, I mean, what do you consider a turnaround? I mean, can I ask that question?
A circle, maybe, a place where they could turn around.
Okay.
I mean, there isn't space. If there's cars lined up behind you and coming and going, because there's only one way in and out right now.
Correct. In his future plans, because we looked at them several times, when the west plans to develop, he's gonna have another road come in off of Long Providence.
Right,
And that's where those two roads will connect.
Right.
I think that's his turnaround.
That may very well be, but I didn't see that in the traffic study addendum. I mean, they were addressing the situation now with the parking lot now and the new spaces now, and they recommended it, so. Anyway.
Thank you for coming.
So can I have a motion to approve, deny? Well, yeah, can I have a second?
So, to clarify, your motion is approve it pending the installation of a turnaround. We don't have the owner here, but that doesn't mean you can't do it. So is there a second to that motion? Hearing none. Going once, twice, motion fails. Motion to approve as is, motion to table, motion to deny.
Can I have a motion to approve, deny, or table resolution regarding the site plan Lakeside parking lot expansion?
I move to approve.
Can I have a second? Alderman Lewis.
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Old.
Aye.
Alderman Bell.
Aye.
Alderman Bill Cart.
Aye.
Alderman Plank.
Nay.
A resolution authorizing the city administrator to enter into a contract addition with Exxon Enterprises Incorporated on behalf of the police department. Staff report, please.
All right, we're looking for authorization to enter into an amended agreement with Axon to add on additional licenses and equipment with them. As our report that is sent to you via the packet that you received, we've got a contract with Axon that you guys approved an update on 6-8 months ago for services for equipment including body cameras, in-car cameras, tasers, and evidence storage in the cloud. The existing contract excludes items needed, including a body-worn camera for me, licenses for me, and a license to access evidence.com, which is our cloud evidence storage. Additionally, since this contract was updated, we added a part-time officer to the staff. Depending on how you look at it, we actually had a fourth part-time officer kinda already. It's confusing. Then when we added a seventh patrol position, that equipment was shifted to that person, so we need to be able to add equipment to provide body camera and taser to a part-time officer that we've since added to the roster. The cost to, or the impact of the budget, over the 5-year life of the contract is a total of $16,885.84. That amount is broken down over 5 years, with the first year being the highest of the 5, coming in at $4,575.52. And every year after that, we'd be able to budget for the $3,077 payment for the remaining 4 years. Full disclosure on that, the service agreement line saw a approximate almost $4,400 savings this year because we over budgeted for a particular product that we use. However, that falls short of the amount for the first year of this contract addendum, to the tune of about $209. So if the board votes to approve this tonight, you can expect a budget amendment probably at the next meeting to fix that $209 difference. Any questions about that?
Speaking about your part-time officers, I'm not as familiar with evidence.com, but is it possible they could share body cameras? I mean, they're only working part-time, if somebody's only working, I don't know, 40 hours a year.
So I tried that in Hallsville, and it's extremely cumbersome and doesn't work very well. Furthermore, Axon requires password changes every so often, every 90 days. And so having to keep up, to keep it short, it's extremely cumbersome. Is it possible? Yes. Is it like a good idea? Not really. Because then it just, I guess probably to put it into terms that I know that you'll be able to appreciate, if you and I are sharing a license and sharing access, so my login and your login is the same, so we would be accessing the same evidence. So your evidence suddenly is accessible by me, and I could go in there and, change certain bits and pieces of that evidence, if that makes sense. Stuff like, titles, we wouldn't actually be able to like modify the video or the photograph that's stored there, but certain quasi-important details about that evidence could be changed if those licenses are shared.
Okay.
Any other questions for Kate? Nope. Can I get a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the city administrator to enter into a contract addition with Axon Enterprise Incorporated on behalf of the police department?
I'll make the motion.
Have a second.
Second.
Alderman Plank?
Aye.
Alderman Wilkart?
Aye.
Alderman Bell?
Aye.
Alderman Old?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Lewis?
Aye.
Motion carries. A discussion and possible action regarding the 4th of July 2023 Board of Aldermen meeting.
So you had a bunch of items on here for first and second read tonight, and just a lot of P&Z items that would normally come before you, so we put this on here for discussion in the event that something was tabled tonight or needed further discussion and we needed to have a meeting, or if we had anything back from the engineers about the projects we approved for Berry Avenue and South Main that we needed to act on. At this point, we don't have anything pending for the July 4th meeting, so as the board desires, it can be canceled. We don't necessarily have to reschedule something that week at this current juncture.
You know, come to the meeting on the 4th.
Am I coming to the meeting?
I will not be here, so.
So.
That whole week would be really hard.
I'd like a motion to cancel.
Can I have a motion to cancel the meeting for the 4th of July 2023 Board of Aldermen meeting?
One quick question. Should something come up between now and then, do you have an alternative date that during that week that you might wanna bounce around and see if we've got?
Melissa said she's out, Stephanie said she's out.
I know the 4th is out.
Well, we
Gotta be around the
We'll
rest of the
just
week.
circle up at the parade.
There you go.
Take the road.
There you go.
In the event something pressing comes up, I'll have Bruce reach out to call a special. But at this point, we don't envision anything coming up.
I get a motion to cancel the meeting on July 4th, 2023.
I'll make the motion.
Can I have a second? I'll second. Alderman Lewis?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Gold?
Aye.
Alderman Bell?
Aye.
Alderman Wilkart?
Aye.
And Alderman Plank?
Aye.
Moving on to reports. Just only I had to report was, Pitchfork Country was in Ashland last Saturday night. We had about 200 people show up. They was anticipating about 300. They had a wedding party canceled at the last minute, so, she said that they were very happy with the turnout, even though it was a slow night. They do say it's slower in their summertime, so I'm hoping they'll reschedule and do another event. Going on to city administrator report, please.
Just a reminder about the Ready event tomorrow evening, if you're available to attend 4 to 6 out at Lakeside. If you do want to go, I did forward the email, so please fill out the RSVP so you know. I did say they'll have enough food, so it shouldn't be an issue, but just let them know if you plan to attend. Other than that, I'll yield to Shelley to give some details on the audit since she doesn't have a report line.
Tomorrow, the auditors will be here to begin our fiscal year 23 audit. They'll arrive about 8:30, leave about 3:30. We should get the final document the first week of August. I've invited them to come and speak with you after the final document has been completed and you have a chance to review it. Don't see where there's going to be any problems or concerns. The biggest hurdle this year will be because we did the configuration in the middle of the fiscal of last year. So some things have changed with our accounts and how we do our financials now. So it'll be different for them and getting used to the different reports that we can generate now. But don't expect any issues. So that and we've been working on, with ClearGov on the budget book. We have a link now that I'm waiting for Kyle to tell me that it's okay to post for the public. And then once the department heads get their CIPs done for the next 5 years, we'll get those updated, and our plan is to submit it to the GFOA for an award. So I think you'll be very pleased with how it looks.
Move on to city administrator, or city attorney.
No report. I do have something for closed session on the legal matter.
Public Works Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just going to gloss over my report right quick in the interest of brevity. Perry Avenue Extension had issued notice to proceed at the last meeting. Project we anticipate beginning sometime in late August. South Main Street project should be firing up here towards, it says late June, early July. We found out some information today. We think that's probably going to be latter portion of July. The meeting of the 18th, we'll be going over a lot of this again to actually issue contracts. Currently we have a couple projects out for bid for mill and asphalt overlays and chip and seals, surfacing. As the public works staff complete the ball field project at the park, we anticipate that being finished by the end of this week. We will transition back into typical summer duties of street patches, pothole repairs, and the like. The TAP grant, the TAP sidewalk trail project, we've been required to complete the cultural resource survey, as you're aware. Going to push the project back several months. Probably going to be a next summer project, unfortunately. In regards to stormwater, we will be pushing out the Oak Street project for bid very soon. Hope to have something in front of you probably by August, since July is going to be kind of hectic as this. Sanitary sewer, everything is functional. We got those pumps replaced and we've been operating pretty decent since. Any questions for me?
When is the first softball game?
July, well, no, it's July 9th.
You should do a ribbon cutting
Yeah.
for the fields.
So we have to do an inspection with Missouri State Parks, DNR. and which they will present us with a sign to post at the ball field somewhere. The remaining scope of work to be completed is pretty minimal. We just have to put in a handrail near the new restroom, put up some thud pads along the backstop to protect the fence, and a couple more for designated batting practice areas. Today, staff along with YMCA volunteers got the ball field fence installed. I encourage you all to go take a peek. It turned out pretty decent. And outside of that, I'd still like to see the ball field catch a name. It's something mentioned with the park board and moved along a whole lot, but I think that would be an ideal time to do a naming and ribbon cutting.
As like you want a donation, or you?
No, it just wants a name on it.
I just think Southern Boone has such a rich baseball history. I think that particularly if you look at the Hall of Fame, there's a lot of really good candidates that we could name that after. And
It'd be kind of fun to have a community vote.
there you have it.
Mr. Kyle.
And
Still, it would be nice before that first softball game, if you think you're ready for the city to plan a ribbon cutting.
I think we can accomplish that.
Have the new restrooms been opened yet?
They will be open once the railing is complete, ma'am. At this point, the railing is for the entrance to the restrooms because there's a slight elevation there and we're concerned that someone will fall trying to utilize that.
It feels in good shape. We played on it, last week.
Yeah, we're pretty happy with it. Turned out pretty good. There's still a couple of low spots that'll just sort themselves out through routine maintenance and dragging. YMCA staff is completing that on a regular basis for us since, with the softball program.
I don't mean to be nitpicky, and this is kind of unrelated to that, but about the park. The westernmost sandbox has a board that's kind of flipped up. And I see it every day because I take my son there, so it's because I see it every day. Is that something we can, I mean, it's probably a big project because there are bolts in it and screws that have to be pulled out and stuff. Probably turned over and I know it's a pretty big project, so.
Yeah, we can take care of that. I think that those are just bordered by railroad ties. Is that correct?
I don't think so. I think these are, no, they're not railroad ties.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take a peek at it tomorrow and see what we got going on with that and get that scheduled. And it's a safety concern, something we want to take care of pretty quick.
And it's adjacent to the ballpark.
Sure.
Sort of.
And if you're going over there every day, I mean, I've got lumber and tools in the shop. I'm gonna start my grabbing stuff.
Bring it, I'll
They
take it.
sound pretty authoritative, like you could handle it more.
I could.
Hey, thanks for the picnic tables.
Yep, no problem.
For the, food trucks.
Are they still up there? Cause I've told the guys, I think that we have so many excess at the park that maybe it would be worth just leaving those up there so we're not dragging them back and forth all the time.
They were there Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And they were being used.
Perfect.
Thanks, sir. Community Development Director report.
I'll just say, look out the report. So if you have any questions for me.
How's the activity on like new business? I know y'all don't say it a lot, but it feels, I mean, we had a lot of wins last year. Are we still getting a lot of inquiries? Are we moving on some things? Do we expect some announcements, or do you feel like the economy slowed some stuff?
So are we talking just new businesses coming in, or new developments, or
All of the above, but businesses, I think in particular.
So we continue to have meetings.
And just approve the site plan for a commercial expansion. You've got Boone
South
Corner starting up.
Breaking ground too.
We ever hear back from those people that were paying to help us with that stuff?
So we're in the last year of that
Next site.
contract, so we won't
Aren't they
be.
supposed to come present something?
I've never met them.
They showed up at the first year and that was it. And that was it.
Okay,
You really don't wanna hear from them, cause then we gotta pay them more.
got it, all right.
So, yeah.
I think we
Terrific
paid for a
report.
few of their conventions.
You got me, I can't confuse that.
Moving on to Board of Alderman report. Alderman Lewis.
No report.
Alderman Wilson.
No.
Alderman Holt.
No report.
Alderman Bell.
I haven't heard any more about kids at the lake, so I think that's good. I did see an email come through about pool guy.
I haven't heard any more of it.
Somebody got it.
Pool guy.
He sent in his
Oh.
like his picture of his pool that will fit on his property.
Yeah, we told him that wouldn't work.
I would CC the name. I don't know, I haven't heard about it.
Okay, you told him it wasn't?
Yeah,
It's in an easement,
it's in right in the middle of the easement.
and on top of
Again, I
it,
can send you pictures.
Can someone, so was that communicated back to him in an email?
dozens of times.
I even did it to him in person.
Well,
And-
okay,
and
hold on, at the last meeting, you said it wasn't gonna work, and he was told you gotta get a picture from your guy, then he emailed the picture, and
So
then
he
there was
submitted-
another
He
email?
submitted a site plan sketch of where he wanted the pool to go, just
Okay.
to confirm that it was in fact in the easement area. Dries has given him multiple hard no's that he has
Can
not
someone,
been receptive of.
can someone send me whatever got sent back to him after that last thing? I have an email from him on 6/7.
That was the day after the last meeting.
Yeah, and then, did you reply back to him?
I didn't reply to him in the email, I called him,
Okay,
cause he messaged me and I told him that was in the middle of an easement. And
alright, so there's nothing we can do. Is his whole yard an easement?
Essentially, so he's at the back end, almost at the end of that street, so he has a giant pie-shaped lot that gets wider as it goes back, so it's a very deep lot as well. So he's got a lot of room back there, but it is a stormwater easement, and it also has a sewer line running through it.
He also has a detention basin.
Okay. Okay, I was just following up, thank you.
Alderman
That's his argument, that would have that person.
Alderman Volkart
No report.
and Alderman Plank.
Yeah, just one thing. This is for Gabe, and I'm trying to be very sensitive, because you're the chief of police, but I did have a citizen talk to me about the lack of a overnight police officer, so I feel like I've taken a lot of heat for it. So, is there a way, do you have a plan in place to look at night shift staffing? And I realize there's a shortage of applicants and things like that, and, but I just feel like, I think we're all gonna get voted off the island if we don't take care of some of that night shift stuff. You know, so,
Well, something that I was planning on discussing during closed session later is the state of staffing at the Ashland Police Department and some of that stuff. If, people sitting to my left want me to talk about that now, I'd be happy to.
I would rather you not.
Okay.
And well, then I will note, we would need to amend the agenda to add personnel to the statutory citation, right?
That's fine. Your concerns are well, we know what you're talking about.
I apologize if I'm stepping on toes. I'm not trying to, and I'm not trying to be insensitive, because I understand it's a complicated issue. So,
Well, I'll have some insight for that in
okay,
just a minute.
thank you.
All right, moving on, general comments by the public. See none. Can I get a motion to go into closed session?
Yeah, pursuant to sub 1, and what's the sub for HR or personnel?
I don't know exactly off the top of my
There we
head.
go, 3. So Dory, you have to read that. Right, don't you have to read it?
You're supposed to, but she didn't provide it to him, just 1 second.
It's on there.
That's right here, chapter 610.
Oh, yeah.
I
Do we
get a
need to,
motion,
do we need to move to amend the agenda?
I don't think so.
Okay, he can just say vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get a motion to go into closed session pursuant to chapter 610.021, one legal matter.
And
And three.
Personnel.
And the minutes will reflect that.
Yeah, and 3 personnel to talk
Three
about
personnel.
race.
So moved.
And a second? Second. All in favor?
Oh, you gotta have a, I think
Roll
that's
call.
our, yeah. Yes, roll call.
Alderman Lewis?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Old?
Aye.
Alderman Bell?
Aye.
Alderman Volkart?
Aye.
Alderman Plank?
Aye.
Moving on.
It's all on there because you can see
Are we leaving or are we?
Yeah, we need to move because this room's recorded. And it's
You have nice to.
It's a never ending. We had a guy who had another department on. You know, guys who just had.
Okay, a motion.
What is,
We
what do
already
you say? Motion
I
to
make
give,
a motion
for
that
council.
with Todd, for the city attorney to proceed as discussed in closed session.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Plank?
Aye.
Alderman Volkart?
Aye.
Alderman Bell?
Aye.
Alderman O?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
And Alderman Lewis?
Aye.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All,
We got you.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 I'll reach out tomorrow to Wilson.